So let's talk about an impossible siege. This is the story of a tiny little kingdom, pretty much the last one standing, facing off against the world's most terrifying empire. We're talking about a showdown right at the gates of Jerusalem.
At the center of all this, you've got two kings. On one side, you have Sennacherib, the king of Assyria. This guy commands an army that is just an unstoppable machine, swallowing up nations left and right. And on the other side, you've got Hezekiah, the king of Judah, who is literally the last man in the way of total conquest. It is the ultimate David versus Goliath story, and an entire nation's fate is just hanging in the balance.
All right, so let's get into how this whole thing kicks off. The empire's first move isn't with an army. It's with a terrifying message, a taunt delivered right to Jerusalem's doorstep. See, Sennacherib was smart. He didn't just lead with brute force. His opening shot was all psychological warfare. This was a classic move, right? Demoralize your enemy before a single arrow even flies. He sends this message straight to Hezekiah, and he's not just aiming for a military win. No, he's trying to completely shatter his enemy's hope by mocking the very God he trusts in. It's a bold, direct challenge.
And just to prove that he's not bluffing, Sennacherib includes this chilling resume. Every single name you see here is a nation he's already completely wiped off the map. They're ghosts, basically. Proof that up to this point, no city, and more importantly, no god, had been able to stop the Assyrian war machine. This list is meant to make one thing crystal clear: you can't win.
So, with that terrifying letter in his hand and the world's most feared army camped outside his walls, what in the world can King Hezekiah possibly do?
Well, his first reaction isn't to call a war council. It's just pure human despair. Tearing your clothes, putting on sackcloth, these were the ancient world's signs for absolute grief, for hitting rock bottom. This is a king who is completely overwhelmed, and he doesn't turn to his generals, he turns to his temple.
But this isn't just a moment of pure panic. It turns into this very deliberate, symbolic act. Hezekiah takes the actual letter, the physical piece of paper with the enemy's taunt written on it, and he walks into the temple and spreads it out. He's basically holding it up and saying, "Look at this. This isn't just an attack on my kingdom. This is an insult to you."
And here's the heart of it. This is the key. Hezekiah's prayer isn't just, "Please save us." He frames this whole thing as a cosmic test. He's asking for deliverance so that every other kingdom on earth will see it and know that his God is the real deal, and that Sennacherib is just a man. He's literally asking for a miracle that the whole world can see.
So, does that desperate prayer get an answer? Oh, you bet it does. A powerful prophetic response is on its way.
The answer comes through a man, the prophet Isaiah. He becomes the messenger, the one who delivers the divine comeback, a message aimed right at the heart of Sennacherib's pride.
So Isaiah starts by basically quoting Sennacherib back to himself. He perfectly captures the king's insane arrogance, painting this picture of a guy who thinks he's a force of nature, powerful enough to drive his chariots over mountains and dry up entire rivers.
And then boom, the total reversal. The divine response comes back and says, "You think you did all that? You think that was your power? You didn't do a thing. You were just a tool, a hammer I was using to carry out a plan I made ages ago." It completely pulls the rug out from under Sennacherib's ego.
And then the prophecy gets visceral. I mean, listen to this language. A hook in the nose, a bit in the mouth. That's what you do to a captured animal, not a great king. The message is as clear as it is humiliating. This mighty conqueror is about to be led away in shame, totally powerless.
And the whole thing ends with this absolute rock-solid guarantee. The Assyrian king won't even set foot in the city. They won't shoot an arrow over the wall, they won't build a siege ramp, nothing. Jerusalem, the prophecy says, is safe, period.
Okay, so prophecies are one thing, but now we get to the climax of the story, where those words become a terrifying, unbelievable reality, literally overnight.
The entire story really comes down to this one moment. While the city of Jerusalem is holding its breath, waiting for the end, something happens out there in the dark, in the middle of the Assyrian camp.
185,000. Just let that number sink in for a minute. That is a staggering figure. It's the size of a huge modern army, but what does it mean?
Oh, when the sun came up the next morning, that's how many of Sennacherib's best soldiers were dead. The fighting force of the greatest empire on earth was just gone, wiped out in a single night without a single battle being fought.
But what about the man at the center of it all? What happened to the arrogant King Sennacherib, the man who was promised that humiliating trip home? Well,
With his army completely destroyed, what choice did he have? The great King Sennacherib had to pack it all up, break the siege, and start that long, shameful journey home. Just like the prophecy said, he returned by the same way he came, a total failure.
And his final chapter unfolds quickly, and it's brutal. He retreats in disgrace, he makes it back to his capital city, Nineveh, and then, in the most incredible irony, while he's in the temple worshiping his own god, he gets assassinated by his own sons. His story ends not with a bang, but with betrayal.
And so that's where the story leaves us. An army that vanished into thin air, a tyrant brought low, and a city saved against all possible odds. For the people of Judah, this was everything. But the question still hangs there, right? What really happened outside those walls? Was it a divine intervention that literally changed the course of history? Or was it a powerful story, a foundational myth meant to inspire a nation for generations to come? That's the question this ancient showdown leaves for us to ponder.